Well, welcome back for yet another one. Videos are coming fast and furious because items for this project of upgrading the Mac Pro are arriving at a very rapid pace. And of course, we have something new here today. If we can get at it. And boy, have they got this thoroughly covered in plastic. Okay. This appears to be where it would open. Probably would have been smart of me to cut through some of this ahead of time. Save a little time. Alright, there we go. Now, interesting, the address here is Inwood, New York. Kinda strange, because I know this these items came from China. Following the tracking for weeks. But here we are. Nice little rubber band. There are two of them. I don't need to unwrap both of them. Xeon 3.46 gigahertz CPUs. So, the Mac Pro back there is off. Should be nice and cool. So I'm going to pull out the CPU tray. We're going to install some CPUs today. Hope you enjoy it. Alright, here we have the tray ready to perform the upgrade. Now what I'm going to need, this is an extended 3mm hex wrench, which is necessary to reach all the way down in there to get to the captive screws. We'll need to clean the thermal paste off of the heatsink once it's removed. Isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol, and lint-free gauze pads for that purpose. And then, of course, once the new CPU is installed, Arctic Silver thermal paste, because they'll need to be repasted. Now, what I propose to do is one of the two CPUs. Once you've seen that, you've seen it all. And hopefully we'll get this right the first time. When I did the dual tray on the other machine, I needed to redo it due to some overheating issues, although it's been fine ever since. All right, shall we get to it? Now I'm going to remove the RAM. There's no absolute need to, but gets it out of the way and avoids possible errors. All right, working that in. And they say you're supposed to do this in a crosswise pattern, which is what I'm doing. We should be pretty close to done here. See, that's starting to rise up. Quite. popping sound that you hear once it lets go. That one may be done already. Okay. That one not quite. Sorry about this. We're almost done. I think we're almost done. And there we go. And here we see the old processor. All right, let's prepare. Well, before we do anything further, you're not really going to be able to see that well. How's that? That's a little bit better. You can see the old thermal paste here on the bottom of the heat sink, and of course built up on the processor. Now, I don't really care about the processors. I suppose I will redo that at some point, but not a huge issue, certainly. Okay. And these I looked into when I'd done the other tray. You know, maybe I could sell the old processors, recoup some of the money. They are essentially valueless. I did the other one. I got a kit that had cleaning pads along with it, but the rubbing alcohol does a fine job at cleaning this off. Okay, let me get a dry pad here. I don't know exactly how lint-free these gauze pads are. If you look at videos of people performing this upgrade, you will very, very often see them using Q-tips. Lint is an enemy here. So I think the lint-free gauze pads are clearly a good idea. All right. And now, remove that. We lift up this. And we take a new CPU. All right, now you do need to be a little cautious about putting these in. There's a little arrow down there and one here too. So you can see they're not exactly the same. Let's remove the old CPU and put in the new CPU. If you get it in there correctly, it's just going to pop right down. You certainly don't want to force it. The last thing you want to do is damage any of the pins that have to connect to the CPU there. All right, that closes down. Oh, no wonder that wasn't going. Okay. And we are solidly into place. Now, you'll see, again, if you look at videos of people doing that. Let's make sure you still got a view. Yes. A number of different ways of doing this. A straight line of thermal paste across, a diagonal line, a dollop right in the center. Some people will then spread the thermal paste over to get an even spread. The majority of them have not. The idea being that once you put it in, it's going to spread. So, doing that, there is our dollop of Arctic silver. All right, now, when we put this back in, you'll see the power connector for the built-in fan. And there is a fan on this, which has to connect here. So that's certainly very, very important. That appears to have gone back in. And now, let's tighten it up. I'm doing much the same crosswise pattern. I don't know how important that really is, quite honestly. It certainly isn't hurting anything. Okay. If you do look at any of the other videos of this being done, you might want to be very certain whether they're doing this to a 2009 Mac Pro 4,1, probably flashed to a 5,1, or an actual 2010. This is an actual 2010. The distinction: the CPUs were delidded. This heatsink that is on the top of it was not on there. So either you had to delid the CPUs, or what some people will do will be to put the lidded CPUs in and very simply not tighten the heatsink all the way. But with a 2010, you simply tighten the heatsink up until they stop. Or crank it. Okay, it's not getting in there. There it is. That's still. Yeah, I wouldn't, as I said, I wouldn't crank it, but just tight. All right, so what I'm going to be doing will be to do the other heatsink. It's the same exact thing. You certainly don't need to sit there and watch me do that. And then it's going to be back upstairs into the Mac Pro, and hopefully it's going to work. Stay tuned. All right, as you can see, I have reinstalled the tray now with both CPUs upgraded. I've left the door off because we have a bit of a test we need to do in starting it up. Now you saw that red light. That flashed on and then came right off again. That is in fact what it was supposed to do. If there's a problem, that red light will come on and stay on. So I think we're okay. There's our ball. So the next thing we see should be the Catalina Desktop. I certainly hope. And here we are in the Catalina Desktop. I've let it run for a couple of minutes. Everything appears to be fine with the upgrade. Let's take a look at About This Mac. Alright, 2 by 3.46 gigahertz 6-core Intel Xeon processors. The memory, now with the processor upgrade, we should have seen an increase in clock speed of the memory. It's still reading at 1066 megahertz. I was expecting it to go up to 1333 megahertz, which is what the other machine did. I suspect that's an issue with the memory that I bought for it. It's enough of a distinction that we may need to rethink that and get some other memory. We'll be taking a look at that. Alright, now I don't know if there's anything in the system report that we need to look at. Yeah, everything's reporting is 1066. And the other machine it does, but yeah, I'm thinking. I know that 2 of the DIMMs that I have in there are actually 1333, but if the others are clocked at 1066, they're all going to be 1066. So yeah, that's something we're going to have to take a look at. But other than that, looks like we're in very, very good shape. All right, I'm going to run a quick Geekbench, and we'll take a look at that. Now that takes several minutes to run, so we don't need for you to be sitting there while that runs. I'll do that for you. All right, and here's the results. Single core of 669, multi-core 6906. That's comparable to what the other machine had, to be sure. Multi-core, if anything, is a little bit higher, but of course that's going to vary as you run the test multiple times. Alright, now we can see some of the comparisons here. This single core, we've got to remember that no matter what you do with the processors, this is the fastest processor this machine can run. And they're old processors. There's just no way around that. So the comparison, the single core is not really good. You can see it's smoked by a 2019 iMac, 2018 Mac Mini. Those are all newer. Even the 2018, 2019 MacBook Pros start coming down. The 2017 MacBook Pro beats it. Yeah, but the only thing that's being beaten is the 2012 MacBook Pro, which is quite a bit lower. However, if we look then at the multi-core scores, there we see a very different story. Yes, it is lower than the 2019 27-inch Retina iMac, but higher than everything else that appears here, including the 8-core 2018 Mac Mini, which is a pretty powerful little machine, to be sure. Okay, so yeah, I'll need to take a look at the RAM issue. I think it's just going to be a matter of buying more RAM. I can swap out the RAM from the other machine and see, and if that's in fact all it is, then we get more RAM and off we go. You know, we can always resell this RAM. It still has value, unlike those old processors. It wouldn't even be worth shipping those. Okay, so I think we're in good shape. We can close out a Geekbench now. All in all, this is very successful. We have a very good upgrade. You know, small details to be taken care of. You know, that RAM issue, but that's not going to be a big deal, certainly. There is storage a little bit, so we can pop back into about this Mac and look at the storage. You know, we've got the, you know, behaving very well, the NVMe SSD, the Crucial SSD, 2 gigabit hard drive. Yeah, that Lexar, that's actually going to get replaced. That's the Mojave boot drive. It's currently a 512 megabyte SSD, which I happen to have around. I've got another one coming that will replace that. So that's one. There's that Samsung Evo that I'm so tickled about. We'll also be putting in an 8 gigabyte hard drive for longer term storage on board. So that's pretty much it. It probably won't be a video in that, since, I mean, sliding in a hard drive, no big deal. As far as future videos, I do have planned a video concerning the USB, sort of follow up on the USB card video that I did the other day. We will see about that, and that may come up pretty soon. And then, oh yes, there's going to be a video when the hard drives come in of setting up and getting running the OWC Elite Pro Duo. That's a really vital part. That's where the backup is going to be, and you know, I think that's important because people may be, you know, very interested in that, and whether or not that is something to purchase or a different kind of enclosure for that same purpose. So yeah, that'll be coming up probably Friday, I'm guessing. Then really it's just going to be getting this Mac Pro into its new home, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that, just move this one and go from there. You know, there'll be, once it's in its new home, you know, I'll do a video of showing that setup and how it's set up in the Banjo Cave, and probably then a tour around the house, since other computers, you know, the iMac, 27-inch iMac that's down there currently is going to move and displace a 20-inch 2009 iMac, and etc. And then these things are going to be moved into different locations. So we'll take a bit of a tour and see what's up around the house. So yeah, there'll be, you know, the daily videos are going to continue at least for a couple of days here. It may be a few days before I get all of the computers situated where they're going to be, and we do that tour video. But at that point, videos are going to slow down. Not stop. I would think there'll still be some computer-related content going on here. but yeah, it'll slow down a bit. But I hope you found this interesting and maybe edifying to an extent. And we'll see you most likely tomorrow with that continued speed test. Thank you so much for joining me here, and we shall see you soon.